Okay, so as you can see, I'm using a scraper. I'm cleaning off what is an end table or nightstand. I believe it's white oak, and I was a little perplexed by the finish. It's kind of soft. Cleaned it out. It has a lot of stains, so it doesn't have a film finish or solid finish. This is the drawer. Cleaned it out. I think it was used for some, it must have been some kind of art craft storage for some kids or something. Maybe in a playroom, I don't know. I got it from a friend. It's actually a pretty nice piece of furniture. A lot of white oak. It's solid, as you can see from the end. But the finish is a little soft and goopy. So I think it's an oil finish, and that's why it didn't protect a lot on the top. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this card scraper, and I'll show you that this is a good way to take off some of that sticky finish before you do any sanding, because I plan on grinding out some of these stains and leveling it off and maybe filling some of these splits. Okay, I'm going to get myself into position here and just want to see how this goes, really. I'm not sure what exactly I'm taking off, whether it's shellac or if it's like tung oil or something else. But like I said, if you don't hit this with a card scraper, all this stuff is going to clog up the sanding pad. All right, I'm going to clean that up. All right, I cleared off some of the debris. I think I'm going with the grain over here. Nice thing about some of these fine scraping tools, or hand tools like block planes, you should be able to go in any direction when they're sharpened up. And this has a nice hook on it right now. So I'm just gathering that up and taking the bulk of it and just tossing it into a trash bucket. So yeah, that's the idea. And then once it's drier, like this area, you can see it's a little lighter and drier here. I'm going to let it sit for a while after scrubbing it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand it down and, I don't know, maybe do a Watco Danish Oil so that it's not a film finish that doesn't lift. So I just want to get a lot of this dark, weird staining out of here. So I'll grind it with about an 80 grit sander and go from there. Okay, this is kind of common. You're going to find some furniture ends up with paint on it, maybe from the bumping into the wall. So I find that the safest and most effective tool is this little Watco. It's a carbide cutter, so you can kind of go in and clean out a groove with a corner, or you can go flat, and then you can actually twist it and do what's called a shear cut, where you're kind of sliding by it, and that helps slice underneath what you're trying to remove. See if I can get it. Down here, there's a little bit more. I don't know. It's just these weird white smudges. And what I like is that even if I have to kind of dig in a little bit with this, still I can come back and level it. And there's even like a spot over here. And it helps a lot if you can go with the grain. You have to be careful if you're on the end grain, like up here. You have to be careful that you don't rip the grain. Like if you're going up here, then it could lift a big sliver out of the top. So definitely be careful with that. But you can kind of, like I said, if you, instead of going straight or like this, you always want to push down away from an edge. So you're using the grain structure because all the fibers are laying this way. So you want to push this way and kind of maybe drag it edge to edge and be a little gentle. Be careful around here so you don't make the big mistakes. But yeah, the Watco is my, I've got this one and I got the big one. And so this is the secret weapon for small stuff. Okay, so here's what's going on. This is the Festool Rotex. I have it hooked up to a Festool vacuum dust collector over here with a chip separator, which means that I don't need to change the bag as much. So anyways, this has a 50 grit piece of sandpaper on there. You can almost see the rocks when I get some light. You can hear it. I've got this big stain and I want to grind that out. I cleaned this earlier. It's pretty dry, but I need to take the whole thing down to eliminate that stain. It's solid wood, so that's not a problem. And so I'm going to use the Rotex. There is a more aggressive grind mode, which gives it a larger orbit. So it travels farther. The pad, the sandpaper travels farther. You switch it to the other one, and then it just does more of a spin, a lot less of an orbit or travel. Here's the thing. People think that Festool is super duper expensive, and yes, it's more expensive than other power tools, but I am sanding this in my kitchen, and I'm not even wearing a mask, and I am wearing some hearing protection because it's going to get tedious. But there's very few tools on earth that'll let you do that, and I'm in a cold climate, and even though it's been a mild winter, this is one way to stay productive. And so a tool like this will pay for itself with a couple of flips if you're doing it right. And then the rest of it, the dust collector, will pay for itself with a couple more flips. So, I mean, if you're getting shut down for, half your year, if you're like me and you do most of your finishing outside, by being able to do the sanding part of it, you can stay productive, and this system will keep you going. All right, so let's see what happens. All right, so that was quick. I actually probably have a little too much dust collection. I'm going to dial the vacuum back a little bit. So one thing you're going to see that I did was I did give it a little bit of a tip going with the grain so that the cutting, I'm still shooting a video here. All right, anyways, so what I did was I tipped this up so that the pad was traveling with the grain and scraping out some of those stains. So anyways, that's the junior team. So when you tip it up, you get a more aggressive cut. I'm not shooting for perfect on this. I'm shooting for getting it serviceable and out the door. And so the stain, as you can see, is gone. If I switch to the other mode, okay, so that was a really quick pass with the 50 on the fine sanding mode. You're going to see that I did tip it up and I kind of dug in just to eliminate as much of those stains as possible. But it looks pretty good, I think. I might put a little bit of Quickwood in here just to fill this crack, and then hit it with a sander. But what I'd like to do is, Quickwood sets in about 20 minutes. Just put a pinch in here, maybe colorize it a little bit, and then hit it with a knife. And then I'll just throw some probably Watco Danish Oil to match the film style finish that's on most of the rest of this piece. It seemed very soft, and it didn't seem like a film type finish that would really protect it. But that's fine. It sands out really well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through some finer grits, like 80, maybe 100, and I might even use my scraping card to take out some of the scratches, because there is a little bit of a swirl from how aggressive this is, and maybe I had a little too much suction. But overall, it just took a couple of minutes, as you can see. So I'm going to get to the finer grits and maybe do a little scraping first, and then I'm going to switch to my linear sander, which will take out some of those scoops and swirls. So this is the LS130. That just goes in a straight line, so it doesn't give you the swirly scratches. And then, so that should all take about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to take the dog for a walk. And by the time I get back, well, I'll be able to splash some Danish Watco oil on here, and by the time I get back, I'll have the kitchen fan running, and then I'll be able to just set it aside and let it dry and get on to some other pieces. Hope this helps. Okay, so here's what's going on. I've sanded down this tabletop, and I need to match the color in this crack. And I thought about doing Quickwood, but I don't want to color match the Quickwood, and I'm going to seal it anyways. So what I have is alder and red oak, and I believe chestnut. Chestnut is a very popular filler because it kind of matches a lot of mid-century modern tones, and I do a lot of those. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to extend this darker board. It feels like it's almost lower. And so I'm going to go with the slightly darker tone. And so I've already started filling it along here so you can see the difference. I'm going to set these guys aside. And so this is the Rockler putty knife. So I've got my woodworking stores teaming up. So this is the chestnut. Used to be $7.50. It's probably a little bit more now. But this is what it looks like inside. You just get a little bit, what I do anyways, is I get a little bit on the corner, and then I just press it into the crack. I'm going to go left-handed. Press it into the crack. And then it's got this square, it's a straight edge, but it has rounded corners, so you don't dig in if you tilt it one way or the other. It's got a little bit of a flex, so you're able to really kind of press it down and then smooth it out, just like applying drywall in a house situation. What you want is a flexible knife. Looks like the males here. So I'm sure that went off camera, but there we go. All taken care of. I just scrape it in there. Some say you shouldn't. I'm too cheap to throw it away. And then just put a cap on there. And so I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to sand this top with a finish sander. And then I'll be able to throw a finish on there before take the dog for a walk. So thanks, Timbermate. Thumbs up. Okay, so this is the Timbermate. As you can see, I sanded up a little bit, and I forgot to videotape it. But if you want to see... Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a microfiber cloth. I'm going to wipe this. I don't want to get it wet. And then I'm just going to put on some Danish oil, the Watco Danish Oil, and then I'm going to get out of here and take the dog for a walk while this airs out. And so that's the plan. This was the linear sander. This is the one that goes back and forth, so you don't get any swirl scratches. The dust collection isn't the best, but I do have a big piece of foam on here, which affects the dust collection. So yeah, I'm just going to tidy this up and then get out of here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm using just a microfiber cloth, and it does a pretty good job of picking up the Timbermate dust around the surrounding area. And honestly, I don't think a single table like this is worth that much. So I would put more time into it if I had 2 of them. I could sell a matching set, but I'm just trying to get this kind of ready to get out the door. I can feel a little bit of grit there. And so I might use the mouse from Festool with a silver hose. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so this is one of my secret weapons. This is the 21.5 millimeter hose that you really have to just find online, or a very few, I think, stores actually carry it. Some carry the block. It's the same block, same paper that works on the LS 130 and the rectangular, the RTS sander, the little detail sander. I love this thing for just little hand finishing jobs. It's got an ergonomic grip. And then dust collection. And so anyways, I'm just going to run around on the top of this and pick up some of the nibs that I can feel till they're smooth. Once again, you know, not inexpensive, but well worth it if you want to stay productive in an area where it gets down to 20 below, you know, for weeks at a time. Okay, so just like that, I like to run my hand over it and feel for any dusty, lumpy, or you know, crunchy spots, too much sanding, scuffs, whatever. The other place where it really excels is on some of the edges. I can round over the edges with the mouse in a hurry and just give it a light. If I sand it down, the edges tend to get sharp. And by using the mouse, I can kind of ease those edges around quickly and with zero dust. Okay, this is the only problem with finishing in the kitchen, is that you need to kind of throw it on and run away after you hold your breath for a little bit. I have a fan over my stove, an exhaust fan that I'm going to turn on, but I'm going to juice this very quickly so you can hear me talk my way through splashing Danish oil onto the top of a nightstand. So it's a very simple finish to apply. It's in a plastic bag, but it's Watco Danish Oil. I'm just using the natural to keep it natural. Super simple. I'm just using a disposable rag from one of the big box stores. As you can see, soaks into the wood, which is nice, protects it deep. Once you get a few coats on here, from what I understand, this is actually just kind of a watered down poly that really just dives way down into the wood itself. But it's probably pretty horrible to breathe. So I'm just doing this to get it sale ready. So it looks pretty darn good to me. And so I'm going to do this. I'm going to maybe steel wool it, or just a very light sandpaper, but I'm going to take the nubs. I'm going to let this dry for a few hours. Then I'm going to recoat it and then run the fans again. But I'm going to turn the overhead fan on for the stove to pull as many fumes out here as possible. But it's a really easy finish to use. Obviously, this is an older bottle, but it's the natural from Watco. Finish I really like. It's great for certain things, and this looks to be one of them. It looks like almost a new table. Okay, and just a word about disposing or taking care of any product that you put the Watco Danish Oil on. It is extremely flammable. It is exothermic, I believe, which means it kicks out heat, and so I have it pinned under a brick away from stuff so that it just dries out and I can throw it in the trash. Otherwise, if you take a bunch of these, put them in a pile into the trash, they will ignite and could be a fire hazard. So just a heads up, get these things outside, lay them out, dry them, don't let them blow away in clumps, and then you can just throw them in the trash.